The comments. You made them. We came.
They're just YouTube comments.
Oh no. They are a means to summon us.
Who are you?
Reporters in the further reaches of experience. Demons to some, angels to others. Oh no, tears, please.
Black back, do diamonds on me, go flash this ain't Snapchat, cause I didn't get got my baby mama that do intake.
Hello, motherfucker.
This is your boy Internal Sadist, and this is going to be Scythe 2. This one's going to be a bit more intense from the last ones due to the fact that, there's a lot more talking points this time around that need to be addressed because people always talk out the side of their mouths, and I'm getting tired of the side of their mouths being talked out of, so, I'm going to just shove this right back in their fucking mouth with this Scythe for all intents and purposes, because people say a lot of stupid shit in the manosphere and outside the manosphere. People say stupid shit. So the topics for today are going to be NoFap, the elites, a real man can handle me, women have all the options. There's no level. There's no. This was from a live stream. There's no levels to MGTOW. You either are or you're not. Basically, we all know what our live stream that was from, so we'll just leave it at that. ED doesn't exist, aka erectile dysfunction doesn't exist. The big reset, feminists and feminism, social media, the US's place in this world in the future, basically. Platforms will become publishers and overcoming urges. These are all the topics that I'm going to be touching on in this lovely Scythe podcast. The problem that I'm having with a lot of people, what's up, Win? The problem that I have with a lot of people is when they say stupid shit and they have no medical basis for the shit that they're talking about, or they say stupid shit on like the manosphere and they have no clue what the fuck they're talking about, or they say stupid shit on, anything in general as far as the world is concerned, as far as I know. They say the dumbest shit in the world and then they expect me not to respond to their dumb shit for all intents and purposes or say anything to their dumb shit. That being said, one of the many problems is we'll start with fat acceptance. That's not on this list, but we'll start with fat acceptance. We might as well just get it on. Fat acceptance. Here's the problem with fat acceptance. The problem with fat acceptance is it's not the fact that we have to accept anything. There's a difference between accepting and forcing. If it has to be forced on people, then it's not accepting. You're forcing it upon people. That's not how accepting works. That's not how accepting works in the least bit. Okay? So you can't sit up here and be like, well, you have to accept this, that, and the other. Well, no, I don't have to accept anything. I can be okay with it, but I don't have to accept it. Big difference. So that's a problem that I've always had with the whole entire fat acceptance movement. I ain't got a problem with you being fat. Just know that I accept that you're fat. Yeah. I don't have to accept you as a date. I don't have to accept you as a lifestyle. I can accept you as a lifestyle, but I don't have to accept you into my house or accept you to want to date you or have to date you for all intents and purposes. The minute I have to do something, it doesn't become acceptance. It becomes forced down my throat. This is the overall problem that I have with fat acceptance. I have no other problems with it, but if you're going to do it properly. Do it very, because here's a good example of how to actually do things. Gay people, when gay men became a thing, well, they've always been a thing, but when gay men became a thing, in the United States, apparently, because it became a thing in the United States after it's been a thing for a while. They didn't go around forcing people to accept them. They just were being themselves. Now they're the most widely accepted group of people in the whole entire world. Straight people go to the gay pride parade. Not just gay people. Straight people go to the gay pride parade. This is why gay people are pretty much beloved among the world for all intents and purposes. Because they didn't force it upon people. They let people accept it and let people and let it grow on people for all intents and purposes. They didn't force it down people's throats. They didn't make people accept them. They merely asked, "Is it okay?" Or they merely came in the door and they asked, said, "We're here, and it's okay if you want to accept us or not." What you're doing with fat acceptance is not this. You're forcing it down people's throats. That'd be like me forcing a Muslim to eat pork, or me forcing a vegan to eat meat, or me forcing, a diabetic to eat a whole entire bowl of sugar. You can't do that and expect, things like this to pan out in a way that it has. It is what it is. So what you can't do is force something on somebody, because you'll get negative adverse effects if you do so. If you want something to happen properly and naturally, you don't force it upon people. You just don't do that. That's not how this works. It's sad in this day and age how people think, forcing things upon people is the okay thing to do, when in fact it's really not the okay thing to do. It's really not. You can't just force a fat acceptance onto people and expect them to accept it. If you force it upon people, you're going to get more backlash. You're going to get resentment. You're going to get people that are fed up with your bullcrap for all intents and purposes. So you can't force things like that on people if you expect them to follow you or be okay with what you're doing. That's exactly what you can't do. You can't force it upon people who don't accept you. I mean, you can, but you won't always get the best results from it. So it's one of those things where it's like, well, or be okay. Oh, okay, sound is good. So it's one of those things where you have to be able to be okay with marketing with it to people properly, so you don't have to worry about it for all intents and purposes. Because what you can't do is sit here and force people into doing something or doing something they don't want to do. That being said, moving on to the next topic that I wanted to address, that's not on the list of things to address. I'll get to it later. I'll just move on to the list. That way I can tell if people are paying attention or not to my actual live streams. So, we'll just move right along. We're going to go to a real man can handle me. The problem with that statement isn't the fact that it's the statement. The problem with the actual statement is the fact that you're trying to say, what you're trying to portray or say is that you're an animal. So by saying this, you're basically saying you're an animal that needs to be controlled, subdued, and handled for all intents and purposes. That's what I actually get from that actual statement. A real man can handle me. You're an animal that needs to be controlled. So that means a bunch of men need to get together, shoot some sedatives into you, or hit you with tranquilizer darts, handle you, put you in the zoo basically, or handle you, put you in an aquarium. That's basically what I get from that statement. The sad part about that is the choice in words that people choose are the words that they choose. So you can't be mad when people actually respond to your choice in words. You might want to choose better words next time, or better wording when you're going to compare yourself, when you're going to use words that can pretty much level or compare yourself to animals for all intents and purposes. And like what Wen said, I shouldn't have to handle you. I shouldn't have to handle you. You're not a circus animal. You're not a fucking whale. This is not SeaWorld. This is not, Sigmund and Freud. This isn't what Tiger King or Lion King, whatever the fuck his name is. You're a human being. You're not an animal. I shouldn't have to handle you. You should come pre-equipped to be. You should become pre-equipped like a car with all these features in it, so you can handle yourself. Or like children. Children can handle themselves. Therefore, you as a grown-ass woman should be able to handle yourself too. Because that's one of the many things that I've always heard when it comes to women on their argument when it comes to men. You should be able to handle me. No, that's not my job to handle you. That's your parents' job. And if I got to handle you, that means your parents fucked up. Your parent or parents fucked up in their job. Therefore, I don't want you. You need to keep it moving. Because the sad part about that, what you're not finna do is tell me some shit on what I should do when in fact that's something you should do yourself. If you can't handle yourself, that means that you have no control over yourself. Therefore, why would I want to date somebody who has no control over themselves? If you have no control over yourselves, you're pretty much comparing yourself to a wild animal or a children. You can't do that. And then turn around and say that you want to be equal, or you want to be equivalent to me, or you want to be all this other great stuff for all intents and purposes. That's not how this works. That's not how this works in the least bit. That's the sad part when it comes down to it. You got a lot of people out here that'll pretend or act as if they're, if they're adults when in fact they're really not adults. They act like a bunch of children. You can't act like children and expect to be treated equally. You can't act like, animals and expect to be treated like human beings. If you act like an animal, you get treated like an animal. Unless you're one of them people who really, really love their dog, then that's a whole nother story. But if you act like an animal, you get treated like an animal. It's basically like saying there was an incident where a kid apparently got over the gorilla exhibit gate, and he damn near fell to his death, and the gorilla pulled him out. Didn't do anything wrong to the child, so they tranquilized and killed the dog. They tranquilized and killed the gorilla. That's what that's like saying a real man can handle me. Okay, do you want to be shot? Do you want to be tranquilized? Then why are you saying a real man can handle you? Because that's exactly what you're saying. And it doesn't matter when it comes to attitude. If you can't control your attitude, that's a problem that you need to work on yourself. If it's all about your mouth running, that's something that you need to work on yourself. That's not something your man needs to work on. That's something that you need to go to therapy for. That's exactly what that is. So you can't sit up here and say a real man can handle me when in fact, no. A real woman can handle her own behaviors. A real woman can moderate and control her bad behaviors. That's the exact thing that should be said. A real woman can moderate and control her own behaviors. It is what it is. It kind of sort of reminds me of when I was growing up and I used to come back to America in the summertime. There was this dude named Animal. I shit you not. Dude named Animal. He used to walk around with women on leashes, broad daylight. Walk around with two women on leashes. Is that what you're talking about handling? His name was Animal. He used to have his hair wild as hell, looking like Blanca and shit like that, walking around with two women on leashes. All over town. Like, think about this shit. Think about this shit. Is that what you're talking about being handled? Like, because if that's what you're talking about, I'm pretty sure I can find a couple animals like guys like Animal for you to, to want to listen to, or, for you to want to follow for all intents and purposes, if that's what you really want. That's just me though. But, I shouldn't have to control the woman I'm in a relationship with. She should want to control herself and be respectful to other people and be respectful to how she looks in public, in her family. Whatever happened to respect for family? I know in the Latin world, a lot of people have respect for their family. So when they do stupid shit, they typically do it on a DL or they do it very discreetly. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are some motherfuckers that are very blatant about it, but majority of Latinos do it very discreetly or very low key for all intents and purposes because they know how it looks on their family. They don't do shit where they need to be controlled. Don't get me wrong. There are some, what's up, Jaguar Media? Tico trend in the house. There are some, don't get me wrong, there are some things in society where you do need to lose control, but yeah, society is not one of them. When you're acting civil, that's not one of them. That's not one of them in the least bit. You can't be acting like a fool in public and then say you respect your family. Because the sad part about that, if you can act like a fool in public, you really don't respect your family in the least bit. Let's just keep it 100, y'all. Let's just keep it 100. But moving right along to the next topic. Next topic on the list of things we're going to talk about. There's no levels to MGTOW. Now I heard this shit in the live stream. I'm not going to say what live stream, from some goofy bastard. I heard this in the live stream from some goofy bastard. I'm gonna say goofy bastard because I don't want people thinking I'm hating on a woman when I'm actually talking about a woman right now. This goofy bastard said, "You either are or you're not." That's not how MGTOW works, lady. That's not how MGTOW works in the least bit, lady. There's levels to this. There's level 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. On 1, 2, 3, and 4. On certain scales, it goes to 5 and 6. There is levels to this. It's all about where you're at because like the problem that I have with people is they don't seem to understand MGTOW is pretty much a sliding scale or a sliding scale basically. You're either at one end of the spectrum or you're at the other end of the spectrum when it comes to MGTOW. So beginners typically start at 1. For those of you who don't know this, beginners actually start at 1. You work your way up to 2 and 3 eventually. Then when you start getting to 4 and 5, if you view the scale that way, if you start looking at like 4 and 5 and 6, basically, if you look at the scale to be that big, you typically start seeing 4, 5, and 6 start being like monks and survivalists or wilderness people or people who live off grid, like Black Wolf is a good example of a 6. Black Wolf is a 6. Black Wolf requires nothing from anybody. And he actually lives with wolves. And he actually owns, 2 wolves. His favorite wolf is actually Black Wolf. Hence where his name actually comes from. Well, that and he is half and half, so that's neither here nor there. But Black Wolf is a prime example of a level 6. I would say Hammerhand's a prime example of a level 4 or 5. I don't know exactly how his life is actually set up. Based on the latest results with the whole entire, Title 4D thing, I'm gonna go on and say Hammerhand is him, not capitulating to certain instances at his job. I'm gonna go ahead and say Hammerhand's a level 5. For all intents purposes, level 3s would be your Mr. Hate Viciouses. Level 2s will be your Freaky Jersey Tales. And certain other people like that. Your people like that for all intents purposes. Then you have your level 1s. These are people that are just coming in the game, like your MGTOW Absolutes and people like that for all intents purposes. Typically, people like this, people on level 1, typically come in trying to change a lot of things too, I've noticed. I'm not saying MGTOW Absolute does it, but typically a lot of level 1s come in trying to change what they believe MGTOW is supposed to be. Well, I think it should be this. How about no? How about you not mess with a philosophy? How about you just sit there and follow the rules and follow the guidelines of the philosophy and stop trying to change shit? I am not level 8. I'm just red pill as fuck. I'm just red pill as fuck. That's all. But yeah, typically that's how a lot of this stuff works. And the sad part about that, it's not either you are or you're not. It's more or less the fact that what level are you? Only time it's when you are or you're not is when you got to determine if you're going to be it, which is level 1, or if you're just going to stay on a plantation, which is blue pill. So it's one of those things where it's like, our purple pill too is a good example of that, where like you're pretty much still on a plantation. You're not really adhering to, the guidelines and the principles as much. You're basically pulling an alley cart type thing. Like you're at a restaurant and you're just picking all the good dishes, and you just can't stand the fact that your dish comes with something basically. And now you want to. I basically go to restaurants where it says no substitute for all intents and purposes. Don't get me wrong, I do go to alley cart restaurants, but it would be like saying if you went to an alley cart restaurant, but you don't want to pay separately for your for your side dishes for all intents purposes. That's basically what you're trying to do in MGTOW. You're basically trying to change MGTOW and then try to go a la carte and not pay for it at the same time. That's exactly how I actually describe that. What's up, Seeker? Moving right along to the next topic. Women have all the options. Yes and no. Women don't have all the options in the dating market because women can't seem to get the men that they actually want. They had all the options in the dating market, they would be able to get the other man to settle down with them instead of trying to guilt men that they don't want into making the men that they want to settle down with them. So no, women can't get women don't have all the options in the dating market. Women have the option to be, dick down. Women have the option to, women have the option to be cheated on and done wrong or beaten up or, abused in relationships. They have those options. The sad part about that, a lot of women typically stay with men that beat them up all the time. A lot of women stick with men who actually cheat on them on a regular basis. It is what it is. So those are women's only options when it comes to men like that, sadly. They don't have all the options. They have all the poor options, I should say. And it is what it is. And the problem that I have with a lot of these women, is they think that because they get dicked down, that the person loves them. No, he just wanted to dick you down. It kind of reminds me of that one meme that I use on Facebook quite often. Guess who got two thumbs and could dick you down and not catch feelings? This guy. That's basically what it is. That's pretty much all it really is. Him dicking you down and him moving on. What they want Tico, but they can't have him. This guy. Anyways. But yeah, it's pretty much what it is. So the problem with it is it's not how you go about it. It's your choices that get you into the messes that you're in. It's your decisions that you make that land you in the hot water that you always in, or land you in the situations that you always get yourself into. Because it's nobody's fault but your own. Like I always say, nothing can happen to you unless you let it happen to you. So if you're in an abusive relationship, you're letting it happen. If you're in a unfaithful relationship because there's nothing others cheating on you, you're letting it happen. The longer you stay there, the longer you're okay with it happening to you. Just like an abusive relationship. I'm not finna stick around in an abusive relationship. Hell, I'll call up my sisters and have a bitch beat up in a heartbeat. Don't do that to me. And don't expect, and you can't sit up here and try to hit me and then expect my sisters not to run up in your mouth, basically. It is what it is. Because my sisters ain't going to come there for you. They're going to come there to kick your ass. It is what it is. So if you ever put your hands on me, my sisters will put their hands on you. And if it ain't my sisters, it'll be my aunt, it'll be my tias, my aunts, my abuela, or my abuela, or my grandmother. Somebody's going to put their hands on you. Somebody's going to run up in your mouth if you put your hands on me. It's typically how that works. What's up, a manly load? Welcome to the stream. So yeah, no, it doesn't work like that. It really doesn't work like that in the least bit. Moving right along to the next one. Erectile dysfunction doesn't exist. I heard this from a major manosphere person, and I cannot believe he actually said this dumb shit. And people actually ate it up like dumbasses, basically. Here's the problem with that statement. ED does exist. Not everybody can get blood flow to their dick. Not everybody is healthy enough for blood to actually flow. There is blockages that block blood from there are actually ailments that actually block blood from flowing to that member of your body, basically. So you can actually so it can actually happen. The sad part about that is it could get so bad where if you take Viagra, Viagra doesn't even work. Let's just put it that way. Because at the end of the day, what a lot of people fail to realize is this is actually a real problem. To say it's not a problem would be like saying that you're not black and you are black, or saying that you're not white, that you're black, when in fact you're white, basically. It is what it is. It's an actual problem. And I would say about like anywhere between, I would say 20% of the world's population suffer from it. It is what it is. And I would say about like 6 or 7% of the population actually suffers from it to the point where they literally, or Viagra literally doesn't work at all. And then on top of that, a lot of people actually have penis pumps because it doesn't work. A lot of people have implants or pumps and stuff like that because it doesn't work. Matter of fact, it's so bad that they literally have a pump that if you press the bottom of your balls, your dick literally inflates like a fucking balloon. It is what it is. So erectile dysfunction does exist. So I'm gonna need you to stop telling your hundreds of thousands subs that erectile dysfunction doesn't exist, when in fact it actually does medically. It's actually a real thing. When I said it in my video, I basically said it for people who are in relationships who are tired of the woman that they're fucking. That's what that was for. Unfortunately, there are men in this world who actually suffer from this realistically. Hell, if you go look at the porn industry, there are a lot of men that can't even get hard anymore, and they literally had to get a penis pump to replace their actual dick and shaft, basically. There are men who have another form of it where they actually have to, they basically do something different where they actually, inflate it a different way for all intents purposes. But erectile dysfunction does exist. So telling people it doesn't exist and all you need is a hot young one to walk past you, that's not really a thing. It does exist. At least 20% of the population maximum actually suffer from this. I would say about 6% of the population, 6 to 7% of the population suffers from it extremely, where Viagra doesn't work and they have to go get these elective surgeries to make it work for all intents and purposes again. It is what it is. That's pretty much how it works. So yeah, I would like that subscribe. I would like that dumbass YouTuber to stop spreading misinformation if you know nothing about if you know nothing medically about this shit and how it works. Shut the fuck up, do some more research, and then come out and actually speak. Very disappointed in you, very, very much so. Very fucking disappointed in you. You're very disappointed in the stupid shit that came out of your mouth that day, and some of the stupid shit that come out of your mouth some other days. It's like you don't even do the fucking research. It's like, it's whatever. I'll just spit this out my mouth. So yeah, the sad part about that is there's a large chunk of men who actually suffer from this. And the sad part about that is you know nothing about it. Let it be high cholesterol. Let it be, plaque in the major arteries that get the blood to your fucking rest of your body for all intents purposes. The buildup of, cholesterol in your cell. Let it be high blood pressure. Matter of fact, a good example of that is hypotension, basically, is a good example of, blood not flowing to your dick for all intents purposes to get it hard. Hell, you can even suffer from it if you actually have diabetes too. So yeah, it's actually a real thing. It's really real. This shit is really real. So stop spreading misinformation. Social media. Let's talk about that. Social media. Social media is a problem for various reasons, because it actually breeds ignorance and stupidity, and it actually helps you sit in an echo chamber for all intents purposes. It is what it is. It helps you sit in an echo chamber for no reason whatsoever, just saying the most dumbest shit forever, thinking that everything is going to be okay. Like ninjas. Grandmother tutorial skills like ninjas. The sad part about social media is if you're not using it for entertainment and you're using it to, pretty much, run your life or tell everybody about your life, you're now officially in the echo chamber. Like when I use it, I use it to record the dumb shit that people say on social media. Then I turn around and post it on YouTube. I'll see it. And the sad part about that, I won't even read the whole entire thing. I don't even read the fucking comments until I actually hit record and screenshot this shit, record it, and then I upload it for all intents and purposes. So like I have no clue what the motherfuckers are going to say in response up until I actually click on it. So I'll click. So I got it. Niggas got to see this on YouTube. When I say niggas, white, black, Chinese, Puerto Rican, Asian, I don't give a damn who you are. Niggas got to see this on YouTube. So I merely record it and put it on YouTube because the shit that you said was stupid. Like the one time somebody asked me, well, why didn't you show the comment section to the one girl who said the one dude stupid shit? Well, apparently the one girl in her comment section said, girl, you might not want to put that up. You might want to take this down. Girl, this. So basically, I was able to catch it before she deleted it. And I was able to read some of the comment basically in the comment section before the woman deleted it basically. So I couldn't really get to the rest of the comments in the comment section because it was funny as fuck. Because she tried to delete it very quickly after she admitted to like cheating on her boyfriend on Facebook. On Facebook, yo. On Facebook. I shit you not. So it's one of those things where it's like, it's a good source. I use it basically to, catch people saying dumb shit all the time on Facebook. Or catch women trying to fake like they're, shit posting when in fact they're keeping it 100. It is what it is. Plus social media. What's up, Mike? Plus social media is a nice way to, keep everybody pigeonholed to a certain point of view. And if you're on social media, I would not get my news or my political views from social media. I would actually go to actual reputable news source to actually get the news that I actually need for all intents and purposes. So, it is what it is. Running through these talking points very quickly. All right, I'm gonna say some of the black pill real shit for a little bit later in this live stream. Let's see. Already did that. Doesn't exist. A big reset. I'll save that for later. Feminism. I'll save that for a little bit later. Already got women have all the options. There's no love. I already got that. Elites. Just any other deal. I'll hit that one later too. Basically, when it comes down to it, overcoming your urges. Is it possible to overcome your urges? Yes, it is. It very much so is. The sad part about that is people don't try. And it always disappoints me when I hear somebody talking about how, this, that, and the other, when in fact they're not actually trying to control what they actually got going on. They'll say, well, it's hard. It's not really hard. It's more so the fact that you're not willing to try, or you're not willing to actually put in the effort to do so. It's one of those things where it's one of those things where you just got to have mind over matter. I talked about this a lot because I talked about this extensively with Garuda Ghost too, and I've talked about this in another live stream when I talked about I can control my urges. If I wasn't in a relationship, I'll be perfectly fine being by myself, raising my two daughters if I didn't go to Tijuana. And I talk about that for various reasons, for the fact that I know it's true. And now I know I can pull it off because I believe in mind over matter instead of letting my dick think for me all the damn time. This is typically yeah, Tico, this guy. Yeah, true story. But the sad part about that is when it comes down to it, it's one of those things. It's one of those things where it's like you just gotta have more willpower, and you gotta have more control for all intents and purposes. If you lack control, you will never be able to control your urges, and you won't necessarily have the discipline to do so either. But if you can't control yourself in general, you're pretty much will always lack the discipline. If you don't have the discipline, what'll end up happening is a lot of the stuff in your life would never fall into place for the fact that you don't have the necessary discipline and drive to do so. For all intents and purposes, the best way I can put it to you. The sad part about it is how you go about it, and the discipline you have in doing it is what pretty much gets you over the hump and what makes you a better person. It's pretty much what I say about NoFap. NoFap is nice for the fact that I might as well just tie these two topics together. NoFap is nice for the fact that the less you fap, the more you can concentrate your energy into actually, transmog your energy into actually doing good things for working out and things along the lines of that for all intents and purposes. That's the best way I can describe it to you. So it's one of those things where if you can transmog that into energy and to drive you into doing better things, you'll make it a lot better and you'll have the extra drive in this world. You'll have the extra pep in your step. You won't really need a prep or a pre-workout if you do non-fat for all intents and purposes, because all that pent up energy and all that pent up aggression can be used towards a workout or used towards motivating you to do something or used towards helping you finish a project or a job quicker for all intents and purposes and more efficiently, because you're transmogging that into knowledge, into energy, into stamina, into the drive that you need to do so for all intents and purposes. This is typically why I always say that. This is typically why I can always walk up to a woman and high five them and treat them like a nigga, basically, because I really don't have any sexual urges towards certain groups of women and all women for all intents and purposes. If you don't meet my sexually attractive threshold, I'm going to treat you like a dude. That's pretty much how I operate when it comes to women and for all intents and purposes everything. Because people always laugh when I say it, but like I literally walk up to women and go, "What's up, my nigga?" and high five them. Like, because a lot of women don't have that allure over me like most men. I can honestly look at a woman and go, "Yeah, no, not my type," or "Yeah, no, she doesn't turn me on," or "Yeah, no, this," because I'm not socially programmed to believe that I should think every woman is attractive. This is typically what you see. This social program is typically what you see in games like Smash or Pass, where you got like a good majority of the guys, like 60% of the guys, talk about smashing everything. It don't matter what it is, they're smashing everything. Like, no, that's not how this works. What that lets you know is that's how thirsty this man is. This man is willing to bang anything. This man is willing to stick his dick in an animal or a cow or a horse or a hippo or any animal that you could think of. This man is willing to stick his dick in. So what that lets you know is anything comes along for this man, he's going to stick his dick in it. That's typically how that works. Or he'll accept anything to stick his dick in for all intents and purposes. What's up, no sweetheart? But yeah, and this is typically how you get yourself into messes when you're willing to actually smash anything because you have very low standards. Having very low standards can hinder you and put you in a world of hurt, or get you into relationships that you don't need to be in, or get you to be a baby daddy to somebody that you don't want to be a baby daddy to, or be attached to in a process for all intents and purposes. This is typically what low standards actually get you. It gets you a whole lot of ain't shit women having your babies, and now you're attached to her for the rest of your life. It is what it is. And the sad part about that is what people can't do is sit up here and say that they have control over their life when in fact they don't. Or they're in full control, but they have to go out and smash and dash every damn thing, or smash and dash most things. You got to have discipline and control of yourself. You got to overcome your urges, no matter what your urges is. Sometimes you might want to drink a drink. Sometimes you got to put that drink aside and do what you need to do to better yourself. It is what it is. Like Mike was saying here, basically. Yeah, it is what it is. So it's one of those things where it's like, if you can't take that energy to better yourself, or you can't take that energy, that pent up energy, or that if you can't overcome your urges, let it be alcohol, let it be sex, let it be smoking, let it be drugs, let it be any fucking thing, whatever vice you have. If you can't overcome those urges, then you're being controlled by that vice. Let it be money. It can be money too. If you can't overcome that, you're being controlled by it at the end of the day. It sucks, but it is what it is. You have to accept it and overcome it and do better with yourself at the end of the day. Because what you can't sit up here and say and sit up here and do is be talking about, well, Tico, yeah, no, that's not how this works. All I want to hear is you got this. I don't want to hear no excuses on why you couldn't control your urges. I don't give a damn how fat her ass was. I don't give a damn that her titties were popping out the top of her fucking turtleneck. I don't give a damn that she was poking that thing out. I don't give a damn that her camel toe was on fleek in her fucking yoga pants. Control your urges. The same thing goes for women too. Control your urges as well. Because the sad part about that, this is the shit that gets you into the messes that you get yourself into. It's nobody's fault that you got yourself into an abusive relationship. It's nobody's fault that you got yourself into a relationship with an unfaithful man. It's nobody's fault that you got yourself or you attach yourself to a man that doesn't want to take care of you or be with you or don't want to help you raise a child that he didn't want no part of in the first damn place. It's your fucking fault. You had all the options to get rid of it. You chose to keep it. Therefore, I don't feel bad for any single mothers unless you're a widow. Let me rephrase that. I don't feel bad for any single mothers unless you're a widow who didn't have anything to do with her husband's death. Let me rephrase that. Thank you. I don't feel bad for single mothers in the least bit. I don't. I don't feel bad for you in the least bit. You've made the decisions that got you in the mess that you're in. It's a series of bad decisions that got you into the mess that you're in today. That's typically how this works. But nobody wants to accept that, and everybody wants to blame everybody else for their shortcomings or their problems. That's not how society works. Well, it does for women, but that's typically not how society works. Ooh, I'm sorry to hear that, Pimpin'. I'm glad to hear you're doing okay, though. I'm glad to hear you're doing recovery. But yeah, it's typically one of those things where you have to basically be able to overcome your problems or your urges or your vices to basically be able to say you have full control over yourself. Nobody wants to do that, and they want to blame the alcohol or the drugs or their boyfriend or the society or men not going to college or the fact that the sun was in her eyes or it was raining that day or they forgot their umbrella or it's one of those things. Everybody always wants to blame other things. They never want to take responsibility for their own actions. They never want to look at themselves and reflect on themselves if they're ready for any problems, because bettering yourself would actually keep you ready. Bettering yourself would actually keep you ready for any problems that come your way. You're always prepared for any problems. This is why we have the preppers. This is why we have the people who live off the grid. This is why we have the hunters. This is why we have all these people, because they're ready to go at a moment's notice. You're welcome, bro. They're ready. They're ready to go at a moment's notice when the shit hits the fan. For all intents and purposes, that's typically how that works. You got to prepare yourself, and you got to work on yourself so you can actually get to that point in your life where you don't need to do stupid shit all the time. You shouldn't need to do anything crazy all the time for all intents and purposes. You should be able to be yourself and do it properly. That is the problem that a lot of people have, because sometimes when you take an L, sometimes you just have to take that L, suck it up, and learn from it. Hell, there are a lot of people who win all the time, but when they win, they don't look at any of their missteps or anything that they could possibly have improved on. All they know, they won. That's all they care about. And the sad part about that is, if you actually look at your wins and view where you messed up at in your wins, you can actually make yourself more efficient, or you can better yourself to make it so you don't make those mistakes as often as you normally do. Because the sad part about that is, there's always going to be that opponent that look at all those weaknesses all those faults and all those weaknesses that you made during all your wins, and that's exactly how they're going to beat you. So you always got to look for your openings or your flaws, even when you win. Things that you could improve upon to make your wins better, or make it more efficient, or make it so it's less work and less taxing on your body. You have to be able to do that. If you can't do that, you'll run into a world of problems and a world of hurt. You never want to be a part of the you never want to be a part of a world of problems and a world of hurt for all intents and purposes. You always want to be able to better yourself and make it so you never have to worry about this shit in the least bit. That's typically what you want. That's typically what you want to be able to do for all intents and purposes. That's the best way I can describe that to you for all intents and purposes. I'll come back to that if people need me to elaborate on that more, but just say elaborate on it more if you want me to elaborate on it more in the comment section and what you need me to elaborate on for all intents and purposes. But moving right along to feminism and feminist. The problem with feminism and feminists isn't the fact that, you can be a feminist if you want to, but you have to be able to take the mask off sometime and actually admit what you're actually here for. You're not here for equality. You're here to raise women up higher than what they already raised for all intents and purposes. Where you're here to basically place them on a bigger pedestal than what they've already been on all their lives. The problem that I have with feminism and feminists is two things. And then I'll go into a caveat that's going to go black pill. One, they always talk about women never had the right to vote. But if you actually go back into the 1800s, women actually had the right to vote. Women always had the right to vote. Basically, people that had the right to vote were people who actually owned land or that were net taxpayers for all intents and purposes. This is typically the problem that I have with voters. If you're not a net taxpayer, you shouldn't be voting. If you're not educated on voting, you shouldn't vote in the least bit. And that's exactly, I think they should have like a school or a college or a curriculum where they teach you how to vote properly. That's exactly my thoughts on it. I'm actually in the camp with what's his name, that one philosopher that basically said, having regular people vote without knowing how politics actually works is a bad thing. That's not exactly how he said it, but I'm pretty sure somebody in the comment section knows what philosopher I'm talking about and can put the quote up there. But typically, women always had the right to vote back in the day because they owned land. They owned land, so they were able to vote. That's pretty much how it worked. So you can't sit up here and say women never had the right to vote when, in fact, the madams at brothels were voting. The business owners were voting. The women whose family who owned shit and who actually owned a slice of land themselves were voting. The fact of the matter is voting wasn't for everybody. Voting was only for the educated. Or voting was for the business savvy, is the best way I can put it. It was for the educated and the business savvy, for all intents and purposes. So no, women always had the right to vote. Women just didn't get the vote in the 1920s. Women always had the right to vote since the 1800s. Hell, some even goes back as far as the 1700s. There were women voting in the 1700s. That's one problem that I have with all these women. And they've been talking about the women's suffrage. No, if you were voting, you either had land, or you were a net taxpayer, or you were very educated. You come from a very educated background. That was the only way you knew. That was the only way you could vote. The sad part about that is people don't pay attention to history, and they don't want to go back and actually look at history and how it's actually done. They want to make believe like they've always been oppressed all their lives, when in fact they haven't been oppressed all their lives. You couldn't vote because you didn't own land, and you weren't educated, and you weren't a net taxpayer, so you couldn't vote. It's that simple. Women were not always oppressed, and their voices were never not heard. Women were voting before you. It is what it is. So it's one of those things where you have to actually stop saying stupid shit out the side of your mouth and actually go back and actually do some actual investigating and some actual history for all intents and purposes. You can't just be out here spouting off bullshit and me not look at you like you got 6 heads or you're crazy. It doesn't work like that. Another thing that I have a problem with when it comes to feminists is feminism means equality. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Feminism does not mean equality. Egalitarianism means equality. Feminism is pretty much gynocentrism. Everything focused on women and women only. The sad part about that is we do all this dumb shit for women, but women are women's worst enemy. We want to do all this stuff and prop all these women up, but women are the ones that's holding women back. But we want to make it sound like it's, men that's holding women back when it's actually women holding women back. The sad part about that, if you ever notice with this whole entire lean in thing or this, mentor her thing, what they're not talking about is the women in those positions mentoring these women. They're not talking about any of the women that have to do this or should do this that are in those positions already. They're talking about men should have to do this. Why can't a woman do this? Oh, that's right. Because your sister, got to where she was, pulled the ladder and shut the door and shut the latch and locked it basically behind her because she's scared that you might take her own position because she fears for her position being lost to you. That's typically how that works. Women don't seem to see that, but they always want to conflate it with something else stupid and want to make it sound like, men are the ones holding the women back, when in fact, that is not the case. That is not the case in the least bit. You can't sit up here and tell me that men are holding women back when in fact it's the women holding women back. It's not the patriarchy. It's the matriarchy holding women back for all intents and purposes. So it's one of those things where, like, if you're going to point the finger at something, you got to point it at the proper thing. It's not the patriarchy holding women back. It's the matriarchy holding women back. Because at the end of the day, there's women in these positions too that could be mentoring other women, but they don't. Because they're in fear that this woman might take their position, or they're in fear that they might be replaced. Therefore, you might want to talk to those women about mentoring women. The only reason why I could think of why we're on this huge rush for men to mentor women is so women can meet men of economic means. That's all it really is. Women just want the opportunity to meet men of economic means so they can, basically be able to swindle them via, some type of false allegation or, be the other woman or try to court them and get them to marry them for all intents and purposes. This is the only reason why women want to be mentored by men or, they want men to lean in because they want the opportunity to meet these high-powered rich men and be either their side piece or, force an allegation upon them or, be the one to marry them or lock them down. That's all it really is. That's all this lean in and this stuff really is. At the end of the day, just say what you really want. You want a man to mentor you so you can seduce him in a bed so he can marry you so you can take half his shit. Just say it. I'll ride with you 100% if you just say that for all intents and purposes. Or you want a man to mentor you so you can force allegations upon him so you can destroy him. It is what it is. Either way, you just want that payday. That's all you want. You want nice things in payday for all intents and purposes at the end of the day. That's all it really is. So this mentor her and this lean in shit is basically bullshit. And the sad part about that, here's the black pill thing when it comes down to it. Feminism and feminists won't be a thing in the future. They'll all be locked up in jail for all intents and purposes. Just like they are in Russia. They'll all be locked up in jail and they'll all be put behind bars for all intents and purposes. Good luck, feminism. I'd like to see you in that utopia behind bars for the stupidity that you caused. You'll be sitting there right next to Antifa, be sitting there right next to BLM and everybody else under the fucking sun whenever they reign in this new era or a certain form of communism. Your asses will all be in jail because they can't afford to have somebody not somebody that they can't control for all intents purposes or somebody they can't harness. So good luck, Antifa and BLM and feminism. You'll all be sitting in jail when the socialism actually kicks in or the communism kicks in for all intents purposes. Welcome to communism, goofy bitches. And that goes for the men that follow them too, that want to be feminists. Goofy bitches. Moving right along. Platforms will become platforms will become publishers. The fact of the matter is, Tico lives matter. Yeah, true. He sure enough did. Yep. Right. He very much so did. He very much so did. The sad part about that is, when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, all these platforms are going to be publishers. Let it be a YouTube. They're not going to have the rights, so they're going to be responsible for all the shit that's put on their sites if they can take down all this shit. So the minute a woman put up some stuff that offends somebody, they can be sued and hold liable for it, for all intents and purposes. So I say, let it happen. Let them become publishers and let them reap the rewards of their publisher. Their publisher status, basically. Let them reap the rewards and consequences of their publisher status. That's exactly how I see it. So all these places like Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, all these places, good luck with it, because you're fucking with the right thing, and pretty soon that whole entire thing for y'all is going to disappear, and y'all are going to be seen as publishers. And the sad part about that, when y'all are seen as publishers, I can sue you. Anybody can sue you if they feel offended, and it is what it is. So now you have to start controlling your leftist idiocracy on your platforms, because people can be offended. It is what it is. Either that, or you'll have to ban people who are offended by the stupid shit that's going on. And the sad part about that, it's only a matter of time before somebody like me makes a video on the stupid shit that y'all do on your platforms. Therefore, it's going to be seen no matter what. Whether you like it or not, it's going to be seen. So you acting like, all this is great is only backfiring in your face, because you can only go but one way so long before you realize that you're going to be a publisher and you're going to be responsible for all the shit coming out of your mouth. It is what it is. Or all the shit that's probably posted on your platform, especially, oh really? Sucks being him. Too funny. But typically, the problem with a lot of this stuff that a lot of people don't realize or understand is, you're going to be forced into a pigeonhole where you're going to have to control the dumb shit coming out of people's mouths on the left. It is what it is. Or you'll have to face class action lawsuits and everything under the sun. It's only a matter of time before, you start losing money, then you start losing money again for all intents and purposes. So, you're going to be losing money due to your business model. Then you're going to be losing money due to the fact that you're always going to be in court proceedings for all intents and purposes, and paying for lawyers to defend you in court for all intents and purposes. It is what it is. So it's one of those things where it's like, you made your bed. Thanks, man. Now you got to sleep in it for all intents and purposes. So yeah, moving right along between these topics quite fast. Already covered that, and that. I already talked about social media and social media and stuff like that. I already talked about that. I'll talk about the U.S.'s place in the world after the reset. So I'll talk about the reset and the elites, and the U.S.'s place in this world after the reset. I've always listened to a lot of people talk about this whole entire reset and everything and everybody, and how the U.S. is going to collapse and all this stuff and this, that, and the other, and this, that, and the other. And I've heard a lot of other craziness and more craziness being bent around things for all intents and purposes. Here's the long and short of it. The United States is not going to collapse. It's not going to collapse like everybody makes it out to collapse. It's not going to just be like some destitute country. What's going to happen with the United States is it's going to come down off its level to the level of the rest of the world for all intents and purposes. That's typically how this shit's going to work. So it's not going to collapse ridiculously like everybody's making it out to be. What's going to happen with the United States is it's going to be a part of a group of countries that are going to rule the world. So it won't be the premier superpower. It will be a part of a group of countries that will be a superpower that will rule the world for all intents and purposes. I want to say there's about like about seven, maybe 9 countries that'll be in this group for all intents and purposes that will rule the world for all intents and purposes. So what's going to happen with that is there's going to be just a group of countries that are going to control the masses. Think of it like the EU, only a world version of the EU. That's pretty much how it's going to look. It's going to be that's pretty much how it's going to look to basically paint you a picture. It's going to be the EU. It's going to be something like the EU, or what we refer to it as a New World Order. The United States, a couple of the Scandinavian countries, a couple of the Scandinavian countries are going to be a part of that. The Nordic countries, are going to be a part of that, and a couple of the lower European countries are going to be a part of that, and like 2 other countries in Asia are going to also be a part of that. 2-3 other countries a part of Asia is going to be a part of that for all intents and purposes. So how it's going to work is these several, anywhere between 7 to 9 countries, are basically going to rule the world together in unity for all intents and purposes. That's basically how that's going to work. So all this stuff about everything collapsing and everything being destroyed, that's not how it's going to happen. Nothing's going to be destroyed. Only thing that's going to be destroyed is everybody's dreams and egos and pride. That's the only thing that's going to be destroyed. The whole entire American dream is going to be destroyed. The whole entire, you go to another country, relive your truths, is going to be destroyed. That whole entire notion of people's dreams and dreams and aspirations are only going to be destroyed. That's typically how it's going to work. So it's going to be one of those things where I would say, I'm going to be generous and say 6 to 9 countries are going to be controlling the whole entire world on a world scale. The United States will no longer be a superpower. It will be amongst other groups of other countries who will be a part of a collective superpower for all intents and purposes. So United States will no longer be the premier superpower for all intents and purposes, the best way I could put it to you. So it's one of those things where you have to understand where they're actually going with this. As far as the elites are concerned, the elites are pretty much in lockstep with this whole entire thing for all intents and purposes. So this is basically how the world's going to be. There's not going to be this major thing where everybody's going to be destitute unless you're in a third world country when it happens, which pretty much if you're in a third world country, you're pretty much already fucking destitute any fucking way. So it's not like it really fucking matters. Your survivability is higher than anybody in a first world country. We found that out during the Haiti earthquake. When Americans were there, they all died, and you found Haitians like months later under the rubble still alive and shit like that. You just have a very high, you have a higher survivability rate when it comes to devastation and shit like that. Whereas Americans, they can't last a couple days, a couple hours without their body giving out because first world country problems. It's typically how it works. So what will end up happening is, the sad part about that is all these third world countries are going to thrive either way for the fact that they're used to thriving through bullshit, disasters, and their way of life any damn way. So they're all going to thrive any damn way, no matter if you like it or not. They're not going anywhere. They'll always be here. It is what it is. Now, what I will tell you is, if the reset does happen, it'll look something like Hunger Games. Would be the best way I could put it to you. Where there'll be districts throughout the whole entire world. There'll be districts that handle certain things. Let it be agricultural. Let it be, coal, or energy, or stuff like that. Or let it be, food, farming, other stuff like that, like farming and stuff like that. Let it be, supplies, or manufacturing, stuff like that. Now that's how that will look. It won't be some disastrous shit basically like everybody makes it out to be. They'll pretty much take your skill set and it'll usher you into a certain district that basically fits your skill set. or your work ethic for all intents and purposes. So we'll just say, for a good example, True Charm will probably be in manufacturing, shipping, and trucking, transport, basically. I would be in agricultural, and I'd probably be shipped to another one to do other things. Um, you'll have No Sweetheart will probably be in freaking energy or health for all intents and purposes. So it's one of those things where it's like it's going to be broken up into sections, almost like Hunger Games. Let me see if I can find that map. Hunger. Mhm. It'll pretty much look something like this. Only think of it in the whole entire world aspect for all intents and purposes. So all these districts won't be confined to the United States. They'll be scattered throughout the whole entire fucking world for all intents and purposes. That's pretty much how that's going to work. So District 11 might be in South America. District 12, or District 7 might be in Europe some damn where. Or District 8 might be in Canada. District 10 could be in the Middle East. District 4 will probably be elsewhere as well too. So it's one of those things where like there'll be a large chunk of map that'll be District 4, District 8, District 11, District 12, and it'll pretty much be how it'll work. Only it'll be like this, but only for the whole entire fucking world. It's basically we will be your best bet. That's exactly how this is going to pan out. That's exactly how this is going to work. Think of Hunger Games on a world scale. It is what it is. You don't like it, it's too bad. That's pretty much how it's going to work. Hunger Games on a world scale. And no, women would never be like Katniss Everdeen. There might be a couple, but not all women are Katniss Everdeen. They're not going to be coming out shooting bow and arrows thinking they're shit, basically. That's a skill that you need to work on. If you don't work on it, it's going to suck being you for all intents and purposes. It is what it is. Moving right along on the topic, basically. And so this whole entire thing with everybody and how they think everything's going to work and how they believe all this stuff is going to pan out is nothing more than, it's a nice dream. I would like that to happen too, but that's not how this is going to work. That's not how this is going to work in the least bit. You're going to be like Hunger Games, basically. That is the worst that you'll get is like Hunger Games. The worst you'll get will be like TFM's analogy. First you'll be like first you'll go into some shit like one of the other minimums countries like Canada or the UK. Then you'll turn around and be Venezuela. Then you'll turn around and be South Africa, basically. That's your best bet. I mean, that's pretty much your worst off bet for all intents purposes. That'll be the worst that'll happen. Sad part about that is I don't think it's going to go that bad for the fact that the elites want their money and they want to collect on their subjects for all intents purposes. So by collecting on your subjects, the best way you can possibly do it is something like this on a world scale. That is the best you can do. That is that, and still be an elite and collect all your money in the process of doing so. Would you say Terrence Tico's daughters will be Katniss Everdeen? Yeah, I'd probably give that to Talia. Kierna, yeah. Nishari will probably be like, she'd probably be a mediocre Katniss Everdeen, but she'd make for other industry. She'd make good for other industries for all intents purposes. But yeah, it's one of those things. She'd probably be more of a farmer than anything. She'd probably be like a farmer / Katniss Everdeen. But yeah, that's pretty much what it's going to look like. Only think of it not just the United States. Think of it on a world scale. I'm trying to see if I can find a map where it's like the whole entire world. Think of this, but for this. Think of this right here, only it looks like this. That's the best way I can describe it to you. Now, I know all the continents are proper, but pretty much that's the best way I can describe it to you. That's pretty much how it's going to look. That's pretty much what it's going to be for all intents and purposes. That's exactly how the world's going to pan out. That's exactly how the world's going to look. And it's going to be, Hunger Games throughout the whole entire world. And you're going to be in certain districts based on your skill and your skill set and your mindset, or based on where they fucking place you, basically. You'll probably take an aptitude test. They'll determine that you belong to farmers, or you belong to the streets, or you belong to manufacturing, or you belong to, metallurgy, or, you belong to an elite, or you belong to like all this other great shit. Because the sad part about that is all the elites will pretty much live in the capital city for all intents and purposes. So all the elites will be there. So it'll be all the peasants that's working out everywhere else. Is pretty much what it'll be. So we'll all be peasants or worker bees, basically, good little worker bees, doing what we need to do for all intents and purposes. That's your best case. That's your worst case scenario. Or, I mean, even still, your worst case scenario, that'll be your worst case scenario. Because even if you take the path of what? The UK, Venezuela, then South Africa, you're pretty much going to end up in this. You're going to end up down this route either way. It's pretty much going to be Hunger Games world style, worldwide Hunger Games for all intents and purposes. So yeah, that's pretty much how that'll pan out, and that's pretty much how that'll work. Yeah, metallurgy is always good. Always a good skill to learn. Always a good skill to learn. But yeah, I'm trying to think if I covered all my topics. I'm going through my topics right now, so forgive me for my silence. No FAP handled that. The elites handled that in the last one. A good man can handle me. Already handled that at the beginning. Women have all the options. Handled that towards the beginning. There's no levels to MGTOW. That talking point I handled at the beginning. ED doesn't exist. Handled that one at the beginning. The big reset, talked about that just recently, along with the elites and the United States place in the world. Feminism and feminist, already talked about that. Social media, got that. United States' place in the world, already said that. Platforms will become publishers, said that too. Overcoming your urges, said that as well. One last topic that I want to touch on before I bow out of this lovely podcast is we as a society have to learn the difference between acceptance and being force-fed. Being force-fed something never solved anything, but got you a lot more turmoil and riots and revolts. Accepting something is different for the fact that you're allowing the person to actually learn about something and for it to grow on that person for all intents and purposes. You can't force people into things. You can't shoehorn people into things because not everybody fits nice and neat in a box. And no, not all the problems in this world are white men's fault. No, a lot of these problems are women's fault. A lot of the reason why there's a lot of people in jail is because of women's fault. A lot of the reason why a lot of kids are on psychotropic drugs are because of women's fault. A lot of the reasons why, there's runaways, teen pregnancies, and drug abuse is because women's fault. This is not the white man's fault. This is the women's fault. The sad part about that is, like I said at the beginning of the stream, It's a series of bad decisions that women make that made this world the way it is now. If you're feeling unsafe, it's your decisions and that made this world unsafe for you. If you're feeling like nobody wants to protect you, it's your very decisions that made this world the way it is. If you're feeling as though, you know, men should help women more, it's your decisions that you made that created this world that we're in today. The sad part about that, what women fail to realize about men is if you make some rules, we may not like it at first, but we will adapt to those rules, and you're not going to like our adaptation when it's all said and done. Because you're not going to like what you get. You're not going to like the finished product when we adapt to shit. When men start adapting to shit, you're not going to get the desired effect that you want. Because we merely look at problems, we solve the problems, and if we have to adapt to that problem, that's the way we solve our problems. We adapt to the problem presented ahead of us or presented to us. If you can't handle that or don't quite understand that, then women, you're going to be in a world of hurt. Because at some point in time, you're going to have to learn how to adapt yourself. You're going to have to learn how to self-soothe yourself. It's basically what we say about children. You can't always coddle children. You can't always over give children attention because they'll never learn to soothe themselves. Soothing yourself is a great tool to learn how to better deal with yourself or understand yourself or be by yourself for all intents and purposes. If you can't be by yourself or you don't understand yourself, you can't expect the world to understand you or know you if you don't know yourself. It'd be like saying, if you don't love yourself, you can't expect the world to love you for you. You have to love yourself. You have to understand yourself for the world to understand who you are. If you don't understand yourself, nobody will understand yourself the way you do. Or better yet, if you don't love yourself, nobody else in this world is going to love you the way you would like to be loved or believe you should be loved. If you don't love yourself, the same thing goes for respect. If you don't respect yourself, you're going to be disrespected, and you're not going to get the respect that you demand or you want for all intents and purposes. So at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, women, you have to start actually taking responsibility for a lot of the dumb shit coming out of your mouths. It's that simple. If you can't, you're going to face a lot of problems and turmoil. Because the sad part about that, it's only a matter of time before men literally check out, and you're literally on your own, like a Bears Grylls type situation, where now you're hanging out at the men's camp, trying to keep warm, or sleeping at the men's camp because you don't have a shack yet, or you're eating at the men's camp because they got food and you don't got food. So there's only going to be a matter of time before shit like this actually takes place. Because at the end of the day, you might dump on men, but it's men who actually are the backbone of society. Men are the ones who put the food on your tables. Men are the ones who actually grab the food, kill the food, and put it on your tables. Men are the ones who pick the fucking fruit off the fucking tree so you can eat it. Men are the ones who grow the shit, pick it, and put it in your basket. Put it in the basket so it can make it to your supermarket. And then on top of that, men are the ones who are driving this shit in big ass batches or loads to the fucking supermarket. Men are the reason why you're able to get from point A to point B on public transportation. Majority of public transportation is men. The backbone of public transportation is men. If men didn't come to work one day, the world will be fucked the fuck up. We found that out already. I forget what city or country that was, when men didn't show up for work the one day. And the sad part about it, it wasn't all the men. It was about like 25% of the men. It was fucked up. Like, they decided that they was calling out sick, and shit was fucked up. And that's exactly how this shit works. So it's only a matter of time before you realize that this girl power really ain't shit. Because the sad part about that, all the women who worked for that thing were complaining and bitching and was late and on time. Sad part about that, when all the women called off, all the men were on time. Didn't miss a beat, didn't miss a stop, didn't miss the time. They were always there on time. When the men called off, women couldn't make it on time. They were complaining. They wanted their breaks. They wanted their lunch. They wanted this. And they just weren't on time. So at the end of the day, men's sacrifices is the reason why you're in this mess. The sad part about that, The only reason why women could complain in this day and age today is because they got too much free time on their hand to do so. The sad part about that is if y'all didn't have this dishwasher, the dishwashers, the washers and dryers, you know, the vacuum cleaners and all this other great shit, y'all wouldn't have time to actually complain about any fucking thing because there would be work that needed to be done around the house. If your refrigerator didn't work the way it does and you still had to order ice to put in your refrigerator, you wouldn't have this much time on your hands at all in the least bit. You'd be too busy trying to plan how to not let your food go bad. It's that simple. So at the end of the day, the reason why women have this much time on their hands is because they have all these amenities at home to have this time on their hands. They have all these extra things at home to have time on their hands. And it is what it is. Women are spoiled as hell. And they think because, you know, they think because they have all these amenities that they're great and powerful. When in fact, if all these amenities went away tomorrow, you'd be all fucked up. You'd be looking like who did it, what did it, who ain't gonna do it no more. You'd be looking like women would look like a zombie apocalypse if the dishwasher, the washing machine, the vacuum cleaner, and any of these other cool inventions that you have went away. You had to go back to manual labor to complete all these tasks. You would literally look like a zombie apocalypse. Here wouldn't be done. Here we all fucked up. Hell, we'll just say this. The man who invented the tampon, let's just say he never existed. How would that work out for you now, ladies? The man who invented the dishwasher, if he never existed, how would that work out for you now, ladies? The man who invented the washer and dryer, if he didn't exist, how would that work out for you, ladies? It is what it is. All this stuff that you have, all these amenities that you have, is the only reason why you feel empowered. If you didn't have any of these amenities, your ass will be ass out, cash out. Let's just keep it 100. And when the world actually collapses and we get all this shit, this new world order shit, your asses ain't gonna be shit. That once great women's power, women's movement is going to be gone. All y'all asses is going to be jailed or re-educated to go back into population. It's your choice. So you either better fly right or the government's going to lock you up. It is what it is. So at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, your ass is grass when it's all said and done. You may not like it, but it is what it is. So you better get accustomed to men. You better get accustomed to men now because your life later is going to suck. What's up, Corey Steele? What's up, True Sherm? So you better get used to this shit because your life will not be easy. Your life is not going to be easy in the least bit if you keep up on a rate that you're on. Your life is not going to be easy in the least bit. Be looking like a black woman who haven't gotten her hair, looking like the black woman during the COVID lockdown and shit, who need their hair done. Or white women who need their hair done during the COVID lockdown, complaining that they can't go to the salon and the nail shop and shit like that. That's exactly how you're going to look. Because at the end of the day, when shit goes down, in the famous words of RPM, when the lights go out and the power goes out, them pigtails are going to be untied, uncurled, and they're going to be gone. They're going to get straight down, and they're going to turn into fucking women. Feminism is going out with the lights and electricity. I hate to break it to you. Because if you didn't have these amenities, there wouldn't be no feminism. If you didn't have this washer, dryer, dishwasher, vacuum cleaner, and all this shit that actually helps you clean your house and makes your job so much more efficient, you wouldn't have this much. You wouldn't be this empowered at the end of the day. Let's just keep it 100. Famous words, like I said, the famous words of RPM. When the lights go out, feminism is going out with it. And the sad part about that is it's only a matter of time before the lights go out. Because feminism is going to go out with it. And I talked about, and I know I talked about another topic that I actually talked about in another live stream. True Sherm was in it, was the House of M. What's actually going to happen with that is simple. A lot of men are going to be rounded up and jailed so they can keep tabs on them. But when it's all said and done, they're going to be released because those men they know they're going to need for society to go on for all intents and purposes. So when y'all get rounded up, nothing's going to happen to you wrong unless you fight or get real belligerent. You're pretty much going to be released after it's all said and done. And you're going to be released back out into the populace. And you're basically going to be a part of the populace that's going to be a part of this new utopia. That's going to be the new Hunger Games worldwide, basically. So all the men in the manosphere really don't have anything to worry about unless you like fight or do something stupid. You're just going to be rounded up, jailed, and then you're going to be released. Then the feminists is going to take your place in jail, where they'll be re-educated. If they can't be re-educated, they're going to go to psych wards and they're going to be in a psych ward for the rest of their lives. For all the men who keep on fighting and keep on doing the stuff that they will, they'll probably end up staying in the psych wards for all intents and purposes. But the MGTOW men are going to be released back out into the population. Nothing's really going to happen with you unless you do something crazy, or unless you do some shit like you're resisting arrest or something like that. For all intents and purposes. Like some of these black people that say they got shot unfairly, meanwhile they're fighting the police and running away and taking tasers away and shit like that. That'll be the only time that shit would actually happen to you negatively. It's basically what TFM said. Sometimes you have to either surrender or run away so you can come back and fight another day. He literally said that in a live stream that had to be pulled down because an idiot decided that he wanted to let some crazy person in the live stream to fuck up his whole entire live stream. But you basically, sometimes you just have to let go of this whole entire heroism and pride to basically come back and be able to fight another day. Sometimes you got to let the battles go. The small battles and skirmishes go. So you can come back and actually fight the major war that needs to be fought. Sometimes you got to preserve yourself for the major war and not always trying to fight in these small conflicts. Sometimes the small conflicts can go on without you. Let stupid people handle the small conflicts, because the sad part about that, if you let your pride get a hold of you, you won't be around for the war. And if you're a strong ally, why fight in the small skirmishes that you're probably going to lose any damn way, or you have a high chance of losing, when in fact you can wait for the war and we can come back and take over the shit for all intents and purposes. So at the end of the day, don't fight any small battles. Let the small battles go. Only fight the major wars, or only come back for the major wars. Don't participate in the petty squabbles or the petty small battles. Those aren't important. The main war is important. So always preserve yourself for the main war. Take care of yourselves and always improve upon yourselves for the main war. We don't need some martyr killing himself off for some stupid odd reason because he wants to be a cowboy or a social media cowboy or a social media gangster, basically. Fuck that shit. Put your pride aside and save it for the war. Because when a war happens, it's going to be less of a fight, and it's going to be easy to overtake a lot of shit when we come back for all intents and purposes. It is what it is. But on that note, I digress. And y'all be good to yourselves and behave. And remember, you're not here for the small battles. You're here for the war later. But treat yourselves like milk and do nothing but spoil yourselves. Men, women, Apache helicopters, trans, everybody, children, whoever you are, T-Rex, gorillas, chimps, whatever the heck you want to refer to yourself as. Just take care of yourselves and treat yourselves like milk and do nothing but spoil yourselves. and always be willing to treat yourselves and keep an open mind so you can actually not have to worry about shit coming down the pipeline or not have these crazy pipe dreams on what's coming down the pipeline when you got people right there next to you that can pretty much tell you what's coming down the pipeline. Sometimes you just got to shut up and listen. Not everything's going to be drastically crazy like everybody makes it out to be. I mean, don't get me wrong. If the whole entire thing goes to like even if the thing goes to like what I said, Great Britain, or is it Australia, Great Britain or Australia, to Venezuela, to South Africa, it's eventually going to be stopped and repurposed into basically Panem. From the whole entire world's going to be repurposed into that for all intents and purposes. So everybody would get their walking papers and their tasks basically on what they need to do to upkeep this world for all intents and purposes. It is what it is. If you're not going to upkeep the world or upkeep your purposes, they'll pretty much off you or jail you for all intents and purposes. And there is going to be a district just for prison to send people to for all intents and purposes. And the sad part about that, you're not going to like prison. It's not going to be like it is in the United States now, where you get cable, 3 hots, and a cot. It's going to be something like a Siberia or something like a work camp or something like that, or a FEMA camp or some sort, basically, where you literally got to do work, and now you're not getting paid for the work. Now you're literally doing the work for free because you decided that you wanted to be a miscreant to society for all intents and purposes, or you wanted to be a menace to society for all intents and purposes, and this is where you got to be now. So you'll be working the salt mines, or you'll be working the coal mines, or you'll be working the diamond mines, or you'll be working all these mines and all these fucked up places basically as punishment for doing so at the end of the day. So yeah, the sad part about that, all these gritty jobs that men do will be done by slaves now basically, and the men who do these gritty jobs will pretty much move up to other jobs, to give them a bit more cushier lifestyle for all intents and purposes. Now, don't get me wrong. There will be some men that will stay behind to basically oversee operations of these jobs like that, the gritty jobs like that. But at the end of the day, sewage and all this stuff will be handled by slaves. Coal mines and any type of mining or any type of thing like that, and gritty like that, would pretty much be done by slavery for all intents, slave labor for all intents and purposes. Because at the end of the day, before anybody says anything, open them up. They're not allowed to have slavery. They pretty much do that right now in jail. What you think the work release program is, you idiot? What the fuck do you think? What's it called? Restitution is, or community service is. What do you think those are? Those are all paid. Those are all non-paid slave labor for all intents and purposes. You're basically putting in time to repay your sins to the fucking people that you wronged for all intents and purposes. It is what it is. The same thing goes for jail. What you think they make license plates for no reason? They make license plates so they can smack them on cars. Because license plates need to be made. But that's enough of this. I'll catch y'all in Tico's Death Scythe 3. No, you can't beat prison labor. And the sad part about that, people in prison labor will learn very quickly that they like being farmers and getting paid to be a farmer and their lifestyles very soon when they face that. But again, I'll catch you on the next Tico's Death Scythe 3 probably. Will probably be at the end of this month or beginning of next month. Because I kind of sort of did Death Scythe 1 too close to Death Scythe 2. Well, Death Scythe 2 too close to Death Scythe 1. So yeah, you'll probably see it at the end of this month, or you'll probably see it at the beginning of next month. I'm gonna either try to make this a monthly thing or every 2 weeks thing for all intents and purposes. So I'll decide on it depending on all the talking points that keep on coming up and all the talking points that people want me to talk about in Death Scythe. So if you want me to talk about something in Death Scythe, be happy to drop me an email or hit me in Discord or drop it under a video or in the comment section basically, and I'll basically talk about it. I'll talk about it in the next Tico's Death Scythe, which will be Death Scythe 3, 4, 5, and 6. So I plan on making this an ongoing thing for all intents and purposes. But thank you very much, Seeker. I really appreciate that. What's up, Corey? Still, thank you very much, and thank everybody for showing up in the lovely stream. And I got everybody's comments, and I'm gonna do y'all favorite outros that y'all love and love dearly. The CGI Indian woman and the hose mad.
This video is for mature audiences. If you're watching this and you're underage, fuck you, fuck your face and fuck your day. This video is for mature audiences. If you're watching this and you're underage, fuck you, fuck your parent and fuck your day. This video is for mature audiences. If you're watching this and you're underage, you have shitty parents or parent and should be shit slapped. This video is for mature audiences. If you're watching this and you're underage, you have shitty parents or parent and they should be sterilized.
Clickbait. Do damage on me, go flash this a Snapchat. Cause I didn't get my baby mama that do intake.
What's your favorite kind of ice cream?
Pussy. Hello, motherfucker.
Vision? What do you know about my vision? My vision would turn your world upside down, tear asunder your illusions, and send the sanctuary of your own ignorance crashing down around you. Now ask yourself, are you really ready to see that vision?
Adios, muchachos. Adios, pinches. Adios, todos.